Hi all, in this video we will learn complex differentiation and these are the contents which I am going to cover in this video. Before that, let me introduce you to some concepts on complex numbers. A complex number is an ordered pair xy where x and y are real numbers. It is written as z equal to ordered pair xy or z equal to x plus iy where x is the real part of z and y is the imaginary part of z. The xy plane in which the complex numbers are represented in the figure given below is called the complex plane. Complex function. Let S be a set of complex numbers. A rule that is defined on this set S such that it assigns to every complex number z an image f of z, also written as w, in the range set is called a complex function, where w equal to f of z, which can be written as u of xy plus I into v of xy. Here u is the real part of f of z and v is the imaginary part of f of z. Now let us discuss some problems on this. Find the real and imaginary part of the complex valued function f of z equal to z square plus 3z. Now you can put z as x plus iy and put a w as u plus iv so that we can find the real and imaginary parts, which is u and v. Now after substituting and simplifying this, you get u as x square minus y square plus 3x, comparing the real parts on both sides and comparing the imaginary parts on both sides, we get v is equal to 2xy plus 3y. Now let us discuss the limit, continuity, differentiability of a complex valued function. Before that, we have to learn the limit of a real valued function so that we can make the comparison between these two. For that, I have taken an example. Find the limit of a function f of x equal to x plus 10 as x tends to 5. And I have also constructed a table. From this table, x equal to 5 is somewhere around here. And you can see as x approaches along left hand side, the value of f of x also approaches to 15 from the left hand side, and as x approaches to 5 from the right hand side, the value of f of x also approaches to 15 from right hand side. And since the left hand limit and right hand limit both are same and which is equal to 15, we can say that the limit exists. Thus we can write limit x tends to 5 f of x equal to 15 and which is L. Now let us discuss the continuity of the function. This function is said to be continuous at x equal to 5 if the limit L is same as the value of the function f at x equal to 5. That is, limit x tends to 5 f of x, if it is same as f of 5, then we can say that this function is continuous at the point x equal to 5. Here f of 5 is nothing but 50, which is same as L. Therefore, this function is continuous at that point. Now let us discuss the limit of a complex valued function. A complex valued function is said to have a limit L as z tends to z0 if for every epsilon greater than 0 there exists a delta greater than 0 such that whenever z minus z0 modulus of this is less than delta, then modulus of f of z minus L is less than epsilon. Now what does this definition say is that for every epsilon radius circle with center L, there exists a delta radius circle with the center at z0 in the z plane. So whenever z approaches to this z0, the corresponding value of f of z also approaches to the limit L. But it can approach in any direction. It is not like as in real valued function. In real valued function, we have to choose only the left hand as well as the right hand of that point. But here we can approach towards z0 from any direction. It need not be straight. You can choose any path. Similarly, you can choose any path that approaches towards the L. And to discuss the continuity of a complex valued function, it is similar to the definition of a real valued function. That is, when L, the limit L is same as the function of functional value at that point, then we can say that the function is continuous at z0. Now what is the comparison? I have discussed the comparison. For a real valued function, or the limit is said to exist only when the left hand limit and right hand limit both are same and is unique. But for a complex valued function, the limit is said to exist when it is unique for all the paths that approach towards that point. Differentiability. The derivative of a complex valued function at z equal to z0 is defined as f dash of z0 is equal to the change in f with respect to the change in z, and these two definitions are one and the same. Now let us discuss some few problems based on the continuity at the origin. A function f is continuous at origin if this equation is satisfied, that is limit z tends to 0. If it is f of z is equal to f of 0, then we can conclude that it is continuous at origin, but you can choose any path, still you are getting the limit as f of 0. Check whether the following functions are continuous at origin. F of z equal to real part of z square by modulus of z when z is not equal to 0, 0 when z equal to 0. First you have to simplify this in terms of x and y. For that you have to substitute z as x plus iy and then simplify that in terms of x and y. You know z square is x square minus y square plus I into 2xy. From this, real part of z square is x square minus y square. So we have obtained the numerator. Now we have to find out the denominator. Modulus of z is modulus of x plus iy, which is equal to root of x square plus y square, and this is obtained by the definition of modulus. You can skip these steps if you know this already. Now substituting these in our given function, in the place of numerator you can put x square minus y square, and in the place of denominator you have to put root of x square plus y square. After converting this in terms of x and y, now we are going to select a path that approaches towards the origin, and I have taken the path y equal to mx, where m is arbitrary. It can be any value, it can be 0, 1, 2, 3 or minus 1, minus 2, minus 3 or 1 by 2, minus 1 by 2, it can be any real number. So I have taken y equal to mx and this path approaches towards the origin. Now I am going to substitute in the definition of the continuity. So limit z tends to 0, f of z equal to limit, you know, as x, z tends to 0, x also tends to 0 and y also tends to 0. I have written f of z in this equation, and then I have taken y equal to mx and substituted in this equation. After substituting you get this equation, and take the common terms and simplify further, and then apply the limit. You will get 0, which is nothing but f of 0. You can see here in this definition, f of z is 0 when z is 0. So therefore f of 0 is 0, and thus we can conclude that the function is continuous at z equal to 0, because this limit is unique for all the paths y equal to mx. Now let us discuss the next question. Check the continuity of this function at z equal to 0. Here also we have simplified this in terms of x and y. Imaginary part of z is y divided by root of x square plus y square. After converting this, you can choose any path. I have taken y equal to mx, and then upon substituting in our definition of continuity, and then in the denominator you can take x square as common outside the root. So when it goes outside the root, it becomes x. So x into root of 1 plus m square, cancel x and x in the numerator and denominator, and then apply the limit, but still you are going to get m divided by root of 1 plus m square. And you know that this limit does not exist, because here the limit depends on m and it is not unique. Thus the function is not continuous at z equal to 0, because take an example, when you put m as 0, you will get the limit as 0. When you take m as 1, you will get the limit as 1 divided by root 2. Therefore the limit is not unique, because it is different for different paths. Thus it is not continuous at the origin. Now let us discuss the third question. check the continuity of this function at origin. Here, instead of taking the path y equal to mx, I have taken the path y equal to mx square. Now, after considering this path and substituting the value of x here, because I have converted everything in terms of x, so write the limit for x, and after simplifying you will be left out with 2m divided by 1 plus m square, and you know this limit does not exist because it depends on the value m, and therefore it is not unique, and hence we can conclude the function is not continuous at z equal to 0. Now, I will tell you what is the misleading portion in this problem. If we consider y equal to mx, then check the answer given below. After substituting y equal to mx and then applying the limit, I am getting the value as 0. So, when you consider y equal to mx, you are getting the limit as 0. So, you should not confuse yourself that this function is continuous at origin, because the limit should be unique no matter what path you choose. So, if you take y equal to mx, the limit is going to be 0, but there is some other path. This is the contradiction. We have taken another path where the limit is not unique, and you will get still 0 when you consider this path when you take m as 0. So, when you take m as 0, you will get the limit as 0. When you take m as 1, you will get the limit as 1. No, not 1, 2 by 5. Therefore, you should not always consider y equal to mx, because there are some other paths where the limit may not be same. Now, let us discuss the analytic function. A function f of z is said to be analytic at a point z equal to z naught if it satisfies these conditions, that is, first it must be defined and differentiable at that point, and also it must be differentiable in its neighborhood. Neighborhood in the sense a circle with center at z naught and any radius, but any radius you can take any radius very small, and if you choose that circle, then the function should be differentiable at all the points inside that circle. Singular point. A point where the function fails to be analytic is called a singular point. Now, take this example. Here the function is not defined for the values z equal to 1 and z equal to 0, z equal to 2, because the denominator is going to be 0. Therefore, this function fails to be analytic at these points. Now, let us discuss the Cauchy-Riemann equations. A function, this is the conventional way of defining a function to be analytic using a theorem. A function is said to be analytic if these two conditions are satisfied. Now, these are the sufficient conditions for a function, necessary conditions for a function to be analytic. That is, it must satisfy the CR equations. CR equations is nothing but ux equal to vy and uy equal to minus vx, and the first order partial derivatives, Cauchy-Riemann equations, also known as CR equations. This is the another definition of analyticity using the CR equations theorem. A function is said to be analytic if these two conditions are satisfied, that is, they should satisfy the CR equation, and the first order partial derivatives ux, uy, vx and vy must be continuous. Now, note that all polynomials are continuous, all rational functions of this form are continuous, sine, cosine, exponential functions are continuous, and if f and g are continuous functions, their sum, difference, product and division all are continuous. Now, considering these points, now let us discuss some few problems. Determine if the following functions are analytic or not. W equal to e raised to minus z. Put z equal to x plus iy and w equal to u plus iv in this equation, and find u and v from this after substituting, and make a note of these identities. E raised to minus I theta can be written as cos theta minus I sin theta. Therefore, e raised to minus iy is written as cos y minus I sin y. After converting, compare the real and imaginary parts. So, you get u equal to e raised to minus x cos y and v equal to minus e raised to minus x sin y. Now we have to find all the first order partial derivatives ux, that is, differentiate this partially with respect to x, and cos y is a constant, so cos y into e raised to minus x derivative is minus e raised to minus x. Similarly, find uy. E raised to minus x is constant, differentiate cos y. Find vx, you will get e raised to minus x sin y. Find vy, you will get minus e raised to minus x cos y. Thus, now how to remember the CR equations? First you write ux, uy in this order, write vx, vy in the second column, and then compare these two. Ux is same as vy, and compare these two in this direction. Uy is same as vx, but both are having opposite sign. Here it is minus and here it is plus. So no need to by heart this equation. If you write in this order, it is easy for us to remember the equations. Ux equal to vy and uy equal to minus vx. Thus the CR equations are satisfied and all the first order derivatives are continuous, because we know exponential, sine, cosine functions are continuous and the product of continuous functions is also continuous. Therefore, the function is analytic. Now let us discuss the next question. Here also we have to check the analyticity of this function. So you have to convert this in terms of x and y so that we can find out the real and imaginary parts u and v. Now first you have to simplify this. Consider z square. No need to write all these steps, because from here after you should be able to remember what is the equation of z square. Z square is x square minus y square plus 2ixy. Once you have obtained z square, what is the real part of z square? It is the terms without I, x square minus y square. Now the imaginary part of z square is the terms with I, it is 2xy. Once you have obtained real part of z square and imaginary part of z square, substitute in this given equation, and after substituting you get this equation. But we have to choose u and v from this equation. So here u is the real part of w, x square minus y square, and v is the imaginary part of w, that is minus 2xy. Once you have obtained u and v, find out all the first order partial derivatives. Here u is x square minus y square and v is minus 2xy. I have solved this in the first column and have solved this in the second column, so that it is easy for me to remember the formulas of CR equations. After finding all the first order derivatives, you can see ux is not equal to vy. Therefore, we can conclude the function is not analytic because the CR equations is not satisfied. Now let us discuss the next question. F of z equal to log of mod z plus I into argument of f of z. You have to first convert this in terms of x and y so that we can find out the real and imaginary parts u and v. Mod z, as per definition, it is modulus of x plus iy, root of x square plus y square, which can be written like this, and we need log of mod z. So log of mod z is so and so, and I have written this 1 by 2 here, 1 by 2 log of x square plus y square, because I have made use of this identity. Log of m raised to n is n log m. After using this, we have got this result, that is log of mod z is 1 by 2 log of x square plus y square. Now similarly, argument of z is the angle of that complex number, that is theta, which is nothing but tan inverse of y by x. Once you have obtained log of mod z and argument of z, substitute in the given equation, and we have thus obtained f of z in terms of x and y. Now replace f of z as u plus iv, and then comparing the left hand side and right hand side, u is nothing but the real part 1 by 2 log of x square plus y square, and v is the imaginary part tan inverse of y by x. After obtaining u and v, find out all the first order partial derivatives. You can pause this video and go through the steps. I have written all the steps in detail. The derivatives of u is very simple, but the derivative of v is a little bit complicated. So I have written the steps here. The derivative of tan inverse of x, you know, you have to make use of this identity 1 by 1 plus x square, and here we have a composite function. So 1 by 1 plus y by x whole square into, you have to differentiate y by x again with respect to x. Since y is constant, I have written y outside, and you have to differentiate only y 1 by x, which is minus 1 by x square. And then take the LCM in the denominator. After taking LCM in the denominator, bring this x square term to the numerator, and then cancel this x square and this x square. So you will be left out with minus y divided by x square plus y square. Similarly, find uy and vy. Now I have written all the derivatives, and then I have made use of the comparison so that I can remember the CR equations. Ux is same as Vy and Uy is same as Vx, but both are in opposite direction. Thus the CR equations are satisfied, and the first order derivatives are continuous because all these are rational functions, and all rational functions are continuous except when the denominator is 0, and this happens only at the origin. Therefore, it is continuous except at origin, and thus the function is said to be analytic. Now let us discuss the next question. Check the analyticity of this function w equal to sin z. Here also you have to find out u and v by replacing z as x plus iy and replacing w, which is nothing but f of z, as u plus iv. After replacing, make use of this identity and simplify further. And since you are having cos iy and sin iy, make use of this identity to break down these terms. Cos I theta can be written as cos h theta, which is a hyperbolic function. Sin I theta can be written as I sin h theta, which is again a hyperbolic function. After replacing these terms with these identities, you will get so and so. And from this, comparing left hand side and right hand side, write u and v, and then find out all the first order partial derivatives. Here ux, you have to differentiate u partially with respect to x. So cos hy is constant, differentiation of sin x is cos x. Uy, differentiate u with respect to y partially, and the sin x is constant, derivative of cos hy, it is a hyperbolic function. Please note, it is not trigonometric function, so the derivative is still going to be positive. The derivative of cos hy is sin hy, it is not minus sin hy because it is not a trigonometric function, but it is a hyperbolic function. And similarly, find vx. Sin hy is constant, and the derivative of cos x is a trigonometric function, so the derivative is minus sin x. Vy, so differentiate v with respect to y. Cos x is constant, so derivative of sin hy is cos hy. I have written the derivative so that you will not get confused. Thus we can conclude the CR equations are satisfied, and the first order derivatives are all continuous because the hyperbolic functions are continuous and trigonometric functions sin and cos are continuous. Now let us discuss the next question. Check the analyticity of this function w equal to sin hz. We have a hyperbolic function, it is not a trigonometric function, and we are going to make use of this identity we have studied earlier, that is sin I theta can be written as I sin h theta. Before substituting z as x plus iy, we have to convert this in terms of sin iz. Only then you can substitute z as x plus iy, otherwise the steps gets complicated. So from this, sin h theta is nothing but minus I sin iz. And now after it is converted into sin iz, you can replace z as x plus iy and replace w as u plus iv. After substituting, multiply I inside the brackets, and make use of the equation I square equal to minus 1, and then use this identity. Sin of a minus b is sin a cos b minus cos a sin b in this above equation. So you will be left out with this equation. Here again make use of these identities, that is sin I theta can be written as I sin h theta, cos I theta can be written as cos h theta. So sin ix is nothing but I sin hx, cos ix is cos hx, and open the brackets. So you will be obtaining this equation. From this, find out u and v. U is the real part, sin hx cos y, and v is the imaginary part, cos hx sin y. Once you have obtained u and v, find out all the first order partial derivatives, and then you can compare the equations. These equations are satisfied, and therefore the CR equations are satisfied, and also the first order derivatives are continuous because hyperbolic sine and hyperbolic cos are continuous, and trigonometric functions like sine and cos are continuous. The product of continuous functions are continuous, thus the function is analytic. Please make a note of this. To find the derivative of the function f of z, we are making use of this equation, that is f dash of z equal to ux plus ivx. We have obtained this equation from the Cauchy-Riemann equations theorem, which I will discuss in the next video. Now let us discuss the next problem. Determine the values a, b, c, d so that the function is analytic. So here, given that this function is analytic, we have to find out the values of a, b, c, d. Since this function is analytic, it satisfies the Cauchy-Riemann equations. So our purpose is to find out the real and imaginary parts u and v. After comparing u and v from this given equation, you get u and v, and then find out all the partial derivatives. Since the function is analytic, the CR equations are satisfied. Now equate ux equal to vy. After equating, comparing the coefficients of like terms on both sides, that is, here I have taken the coefficients of x on both sides, and then you get 2c is equal to 2, which is c is equal to 1, and comparing the coefficients of y on both sides, you get a equal to d, that is a and d both are same. Now make use of the second CR equation, uy equal to minus vx, and then equate in this. So you get this equation. After comparing the coefficients of x and coefficients of y, you get a is equal to minus 2c and 2b is equal to minus d. And since we have already obtained c, you have to take c as 1, so you will get a as minus 2, but you know a and d both are same, therefore d is also minus 2, and when you substitute in this equation, you get b as 1. Thus we have obtained all the values when the given function is analytic. Now let us discuss the sufficient conditions for functions to be analytic. These problems are very important. So here I am going to discuss 5 conditions. Condition 1, prove that the analytic function with constant real part is a constant. Here let us discuss what are the given data. F of z equal to u plus iv is analytic. From this, it is sure that it satisfies CR equations, ux equal to vy and uy equal to minus vx. And what is the second thing that is known? The real part is constant. So here u is the real part, so u equal to constant. Now what we have to prove? We have to prove that the function f of z is also constant. Now from the second equation, u equal to c, differentiate this partially with respect to x, you get 0. Differentiate this partially with respect to y, you get 0. Therefore ux equal to 0, but you know ux and vy both are same, therefore vy is also 0. From this equation, uy equal to 0, but you know uy is same as minus vx, therefore minus vx equal to 0. Thus we have obtained vx is 0 and vy is 0. Therefore this happens only when v is a constant. Only when we have a constant function, the first order derivative with respect to x and y will be 0, and f of z equal to u plus iv is a constant, because u is a constant and also v is a constant, therefore its sum is also constant. Now let us discuss the second condition. Prove that the analytic function with constant imaginary part is constant. Here also write down the given data. F of z equal to u plus iv is analytic. Imaginary part, here imaginary part is v. V is constant, we have to prove f of z is constant. We have to proceed in a similar way we have done with condition 1. So from the second equation, v equal to c, differentiate this partially with respect to x and y, you get 0. Vx equal to 0, Vy equal to 0, but you know Vx is nothing but minus Uy, therefore minus Uy equal to 0, that is Uy equal to 0. From this second equation, Vy equal to 0, but you know Vy is same as Ux, therefore Ux is also 0. So from these two equations you get Ux equal to 0, Uy equal to 0. This happens only when U is a constant. Therefore we can conclude f of z equal to u plus iv is a constant, because v is a constant and now we have proved that u is also constant. Now condition 3, prove that the real valued analytic function is a constant. The proof is similar to the above problem, condition 2, where instead of v equal to c, we have to take v equal to 0 in this proof to solve. Condition 4, prove that an analytic function with first derivative as 0 is a constant. Here the given function is analytic, and what is the second condition? It is given that f dash of z equal to 0. We have to prove f of z is a constant. We have already studied the equation for f dash of z, which is ux plus ivx. So here given that f dash of z equal to 0, that means ux plus ivx is also 0, but 0 can be written as 0 plus I0. Now comparing left hand side and right hand side, we get ux equal to 0 and vx equal to 0, but from the CR equations, you know ux is same as vy, therefore vy equal to 0, and vx is same as minus uy, therefore minus uy equal to 0. And from this overall equations, we get ux equal to 0, uy equal to 0, and vx equal to 0, vy equal to 0. Therefore u is a constant and v is a constant, and thus we can conclude f of z equal to u plus iv is also a constant. Condition 5, this is condition 5 actually. Prove that an analytic function with constant modulus is a constant. So here given conditions are f of z is analytic and modulus is constant. We have to prove that f of z is constant. This particular problem is very important as per exam point of view. Now from the second equation, modulus of f of z equal to constant. Make use of the definition. Modulus of f of z, modulus of u plus iv equal to constant, which is root of u square plus v square equal to c. Squaring on both sides, you get this equation. I have taken this equation and marked that as star, so that we can use this again. So u square plus v square is c square. Now differentiating this box again with respect to x and y, we get 2u into ux plus 2v into vx equal to 0. Cancelling 2, you get this equation which I have taken in this box. Similarly, differentiating this box with respect to y, you get this equation, but I am not going to make use of this equation because I am going to convert this with the derivatives with respect to x. So make use of the CR equations. Uy is nothing but minus Vx and Vy is nothing but Ux. After substituting the CR equations, you get this box. So I am going to use these two boxes. Squaring and adding these two boxes and then simplifying further, cancelling the terms, grouping the terms, you get this particular equation. And here u square plus v square is nothing but c square, and you know c is not equal to 0, therefore ux square plus vx square will be 0. But this is a square term and this is also a square term, therefore these two are positive terms, and sum of two positive terms is 0 only when they are zeros. So ux equal to 0, vx equal to 0, and hence using CR equations, we get Vy equal to 0 minus Uy equal to 0. Therefore, from overall idea, you get Ux equal to 0, Uy equal to 0, which means U is a constant, and similarly V is a constant. Therefore, f of z equal to U plus iv is an analytic function. Now, let us discuss the harmonic function and harmonic conjugate, which is the last part of this video. Laplace equation. A real valued function phi of two variables x and y is said to be harmonic if it satisfies the Laplace equation del square phi equal to 0, that is 5xx plus 5yy equal to 0. Now harmonic conjugate. If u and v are harmonic functions of an analytic function f of z equal to u plus iv, then we can say v is the harmonic conjugate of u. Now this problem is very important as per exam point of view. Are the following functions harmonic? If so, then find the harmonic conjugate and the corresponding analytic function. Here given u, we have to find, you have to first check whether it is a harmonic function. Here there are three parts in this question. First you have to check whether it is harmonic. Secondly, we have to find the harmonic conjugate, and then thirdly we have to find the corresponding analytic function. So here first we are going to check the harmonicity of this function u. So first find the second order derivatives uxx and uyy, add these two, you get 0. Now I am moving to the second part, that is to find the harmonic conjugate. Make use of the first CR equation ux equal to vy. We need vy. Therefore, substitute ux, which is 2x, from this equation vy is 2x. Now this is a derivative. We need v, and this derivative can be cancelled by integrating. So integrating vy with respect to y, where x is constant, we are integrating this partially. So v is equal to vy now becomes v, because the derivative is gone now. So integration of 2x, here x is constant, so 2x into integral of 1 dy, which is 2xy, plus you have to add a constant, but you know x is constant, so anything related to x will be constant. So f of x is a constant. Once you have obtained v, here f of x is unknown, therefore we are going to find out this unknown f of x. Still we haven't made use of the second CR equation. So call that as equation number 1 and differentiate equation 1 partially with respect to x, where y is a constant. So when you differentiate this, vx equal to y is constant, x is constant, here y is constant, so 2y into differentiation of x is 1 plus f of x derivative is f dash of x. See, I told you we haven't even made use of the second CR equation. So this is our second CR equation, uy equal to minus vx or vx equal to minus uy, but we know my uy, you can substitute uy. So in the place of vx, substitute minus uy and substitute uy as minus 2y minus 1, which we have already found out. Now after cancelling the terms, we will get f dash of x equal to 1, but we actually need f of x. So what we are going to do is integrate this further. So when you integrate this further, you will get f of x, which is equal to x plus c. Thus we can substitute in the given and found out equation v, which is 2xy plus f of x, and here you put f of x as x plus c. Thus we have obtained the second part of the question. Now next we are going to move on to the third part, that is to find the analytic function. Since we know the equation for u and we have found out v, we are going to substitute u and v in this equation. And since this is in terms of x and y, if you want to convert in terms of z, you have to take x as z and y as 0. This is done using Milne-Thomson method, and thus we have obtained f of z. Now let us move on to the second part of the second question. V is equal to 2x minus 1 into y. Here also there are three parts. We have to check whether it is harmonic. Second, find the harmonic conjugate. Third, find the analytic function. Now first you check the harmonicity of this function. Find out the second order derivatives vxx and vyy, both are zeros. Add them, still it is 0. Therefore v is harmonic because it satisfies the Laplace equation. Now to find the conjugate u, I am going to make use of the second equation, second CR equation, because here v is given. In our first problem u was given, in our second problem v is given. So when v is given, make use of the second equation uy equal to minus vx. Here we have found out vx, substitute vx. Now integrating this with respect to y, because this is a first order derivative, and in order to find u, you have to integrate this. Now after integrating, u is equal to minus 2 into y square by 2. Since x is constant, anything related to x will be constant, so f of x is constant. Thus we have obtained u. But this, in this u, f of x is unknown. We had to find out this unknown. So we have not yet used the first CR equation. Therefore we are differentiating this equation with respect to x, treating y as constant. So when you differentiate, you get ux equal to y is constant, so 0 plus f dash of x. But from our first equation, ux equal to vy, and we have found out vy, which is 2x minus 1. Substitute 2x minus 1 here. After substituting, we get f dash of x, but we need f of x. So integrating this with respect to x, you get f of x equal to x square minus x plus c. Therefore substituting f of x in the equation of u, you get the harmonic conjugate u. Now let us move on to the third part, that is finding the analytic function. F of z equal to u plus iv. We know v from the question and we have found out u, substituting these, and then replacing x as z and y as 0, you can convert f of z in terms of z. I hope you have understood this. Thank you.